With this big rally in precious metal prices, you would think that precious metal bullion dealers would be doing quite well in terms of profits. And I think some are doing quite okay for sure, but there are problems across the entire industry. And I'm going to go into some of that here and why this matters to you. But we're going to talk about a couple of specific instances too, which I think are quite troubling. And I'm going to get into how you can protect yourself so that you aren't caught in the wake of what could potentially become a disaster. I'll explain it all as we explore. Gold and silver prices have been on a tear lately. It's been an exciting thing to see. How do precious metal dealers deal with this when they're selling gold and silver? There's different premiums for silver than there is for gold. And I think to some extent, many dealers probably feel they can do better with silver because of the higher premiums, and they can sell in volume. The American Silver Eagle is the most popular bullion coin on the planet, in the history of the planet Earth. It's pretty amazing indeed. But the thing is that the premiums fluctuate quite dramatically. We've seen premiums as high as $15, even $20 for these coins. And we've also seen them really scale back. All of it is dependent on the authorized purchasers and wholesalers. I think they're the ones that are probably making the most profit off of these coins when they go to sell. You also heard me talk about how the precious metals market for these coins is really dramatically shaken up, essentially, by what Costco is doing. Costco has been buying these. In fact, from another source is that they may have taken out a 2-month supply from the United States Mint from buying from the authorized purchasers. And we know the big names there, and it's Atmex is going to be one of the bigger players, but we also have A-Mark Precious Metals, which is a comprehensive precious metals company that has their fingers in all sorts of areas within the supply chain of the bullion market. I think those two are doing quite okay for sure, but even so, I think they're probably seeing sales pull back somewhat. And I think overall sales are down to a degree. But there's conflicting reports about that as well, too. When precious metal prices are high, it's a little harder for people to buy in general. But now, when we have inflation stacked up upon that, and by some accounts, well, silver is doing quite well now, at trading around $31, $32 an ounce right now. Some people just can't make that work. And gold is untouchable at these prices. It's pretty amazing. Now, I will say that with gold and silver rising and paying upwards of $2,400 for an ounce of silver with a spot deal right now is very, very difficult to do for most of us out there. It's almost becoming unobtainable. Fractional pieces are out there, and the premiums are going to be higher on those. But again, some of those premiums, especially for Eagles, well, they're set in stone essentially by the wholesale market and by the U.S. Mint itself. I think silver Eagles, you're paying about $2.90 an ounce to the authorized purchasers. So already you got about a $3 premium right off the bat. But what's going on here in the market overall? I think sales have subsided and dealers have to hedge themselves. And you would think there's not much reason to hedge now since prices are high. They can profit more. But if volume is down, it doesn't matter what the prices are. They would much rather prices be low and people buying up. And they may make less per unit, but in the end, they are going to profit. So this is why they hedge. The problem with hedging, especially for some of the medium tier bullion dealers out there, I'm not going to really name them, but essentially it's most everybody outside of those companies tied to A-Mark and Atmex. Atmex was the largest precious metals company out there that actually sold to the public. And but now A-Mark is obviously bigger, and they have their hands in many different bullion dealers. I can't even name them all, but JM Bullion is the most well-known, as well as Provident. and others tied to it. But so they're probably doing fine. But a lot of these other independent companies, well, it's a little different story there when they're selling precious metals. And to be able to get these metals in and to be able to sell them to you at a fair price. And that's just it. What is a fair price? Especially in this market. Bullion companies must make money in order to survive. They have to pay for overhead. And overhead, even if they are bullion sell completely online, well, they have to process the orders. They have to pay the salespeople, the people that take the call, the people that update the website. And there's just a lot of overhead there. So very, very thin margins when you think about all of that. And then, that's not even mentioning what some of these larger coin shops are doing that are brick and mortar, that have presence online and the like, and that's there's many organizations like that sell online, but their primary focus is brick and mortar. So just be wary, know who you're dealing with, and try to get a good grasp at the health of the company. Now, you're not going to be able to call in and ask for a profit loss statement for these places, but there are other indicators to see exactly what's going on. If a company is selling bullion with a very low margin above spot price for too long and consistently, that's an issue. That's a big problem. And I've seen some of that happen, and I'm wondering how can this be? How can this occur? How are they able to make ends meet? I'll give you an example. There was a company early on in my time in this community called Penn Metals that had very decent prices and free shipping. It doesn't matter if you bought one piece or 100 pieces. Free shipping for whatever. That just did not seem like a sustainable model. It was very nice of them to be able to pass the savings along to us, but essentially they got eaten up by the losses by providing us by charity. The thing that people have to understand is dealers and business is not in the business of charity. They are in the business of making money and profits. And that's not a bad thing, by the way, folks, because they're providing a service to us. And they provide a service to us by selling precious metals. And that's why the premiums are there. They have to make money. They have to keep everything going, and they should be rewarded with a profit. And that's why I have no problem buying from precious metal dealers, even if the prices are a little bit higher if they have a coin that I want. Obviously, you want to shop around for the best price possible. However, upon doing that, it's always good to look at the health of the company from what you're dealing with. I'm going to give you two big examples here. Number one is a company I've not really heard much about for quite a long time. They're never talked about in the community. They used to be, but they actually had fairly decent prices, but very high shipping, which made it actually a bad deal. And come to find out, well, there's more to it than that. Here's Gainesville Coins. It looks like that December of last year, the accreditation of the Better Business Bureau for Gainesville Coins was revoked by the board of directors due to failure by the business to adhere to the BBB requirement that accredited businesses meet and abide by the following standards. And of course, 6 address disputes forwarded by BBB quickly and in good faith, and cooperate with BBB in efforts to eliminate the underlying cause of patterns of customer complaints that are identifiable by the BBB. And you can see here that their ratings after 83, they're very, very poor, and a lot of complaints here. So it looks like this company's reputation is on the line here, and it's unfortunate, but I think they were one of these that started out as a brick and mortar, and they went online and went full bore online. And I don't know what happened there. It's who knows. We can speculate all day long. And I'm not, by the way, one of those that relies solely on the Better Business Bureau for ratings, because I think a lot of people have found that those ratings can be essentially fixed or bought and paid for. In fact, I know this for sure from some of these loan scammers that call me all the time. Well, check us out on the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau is not the be-all end-all. However, what we're seeing here, is definitely a real thing. This is not good. And I think it is a good idea to look at the accreditation, and also, are they part of the Professional Numismatic Guild, and other organizations with regards to precious metals accreditation or associations. There's a couple of different organizations you can look on their websites to see. Of course, logos can be stolen and be used on a non-legitimate website too, but I'm talking about the legitimate websites, the ones that we all know. I'm not going to go into the names. Most of you know all of them, but pretty much anybody that you've ever heard been talked about in this community or other in the social media platforms, that it will give you a clue and a hint as to, hey, we do trust these guys, but we want to make sure that they're healthy. This is an example, a glaring example that this company is not doing very well. And if anything, they're not doing well with customer service. If they're not doing well with customer service, likely their sales are down fairly dramatically. And so very rarely do I get emails from these guys. I think I'm on the list, and I'd see them from time to time. But just be on the lookout. And because if a company like this all of a sudden, blast out a spot deal, I would think twice before taking advantage of that deal. Now, here's another example. And before I get to this other example, when we think about precious metals, we think about what's involved in them. It's gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Truth in advertising is a thing. And I can't prove what was shared with me by a member of this community, but they showed on this website that would show this many gold eagles sold in a day. 500 sold in a day, or in the last 24 hours, or 75 or whatever tubes of gold eagle sold when the price started to go up above $2,300 an ounce. It's like, I just could not help but be skeptical of that. I assumed, maybe it's true. I don't know. Well, it turns out that company, Bullion Exchanges, they don't have a store on eBay anymore, folks. Bullion Exchanges, as their store was not found, and they had a good presence there, and to me that's a little bit concerning. That sends up a red flag for sure when you see something like this. So be careful. Look around and see what's there. Keep tabs on the precious metals dealers that you work with the most, or you do business with the most. Make sure they're healthy. You may not be able to get a statement from the owner, or a profit loss statement, or be able to really assess the value and health of the company. But things like this will give you a clue. This is concerning. This is very concerning. And so be on the lookout, because we use our hard-earned money to buy precious metals. And I think it's on us to make sure that we don't have money tied up with a big order with a precious metals company that has a really good deal, and then all of a sudden they declare bankruptcy, and then your money is tied up for who knows how long before you can get it. That's a very scary situation. We've seen that happen with Tolving, with other companies, Northwest Territorial Mint. They weren't exactly the examples of companies that had the volume or the outreach that companies that we see today have. And there's a lot of new companies coming out too that could very well and easily fold if they aren't successful in the long run. So always be skeptical and be cautious when purchasing precious metals, especially in today's market. There's a lot of concern out there, so just watch out. So let me know what your thoughts are on this news and this information. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.